If you grew up building worlds with Lego, this story is about you. Because every tower you built, every car you imagined, every small brick you snapped into place, it all came from a company that once stood dangerously close to failure. This is not just a business story. It is the story of how something loved by millions almost disappeared. Before Lego became a global brand, before the bricks, before the colors, before the box you've seen in every toy store, there was just a boy, a quiet boy, growing up in a small Danish village where life didn't give you many choices. His name was Ole Kirk Christiansen. Ole was born in 1891 in Denmark, at a time when life was slow but unforgiving. He grew up in a poor farming family, where working hard wasn't a virtue, it was a necessity. From a very young age, Ole learned that if something broke, you fixed it. And if life knocked you down, you stood back up quietly and kept moving. As a young man, Ole trained as a carpenter. That choice shaped him deeply. Carpentry taught him patience, precision, and respect for materials. You couldn't rush wood. You couldn't force it. Every piece had to fit, or the entire structure failed. In 1916, Ole finally opened his own small workshop in the town of Billund. It wasn't a dream factory. It was a modest place where he made doors, furniture, and basic household items for local families. Life felt stable for the first time. Then, in 1924, everything burned down. A fire destroyed the workshop completely. Years of effort vanished overnight. Most people would have walked away, exhausted and defeated. Ole didn't. He borrowed money, rebuilt the workshop, and even made it bigger than before. It wasn't optimism, it was stubborn resilience. But fate wasn't done testing him. The Great Depression arrived, and suddenly people couldn't afford furniture. Orders stopped coming in. Money dried up. Ole now had a factory, workers to pay, and no demand. To survive, he made a painful but practical decision. He began producing smaller wooden items, things families could still afford. Among those items were toys. At first, toys weren't a passion project. They were survival products. But Ole noticed something important. Even in the hardest times, parents still tried to bring small moments of happiness into their children's lives. Toys mattered. In 1934, he named his company Lego, derived from the Danish words leg godt, meaning play well. It wasn't a slogan, it was a philosophy. Ole truly believed that play helped children learn, imagine, and grow stronger inside. Then tragedy struck again. In 1942, another fire destroyed the factory. For the second time, everything was gone. Ole was older now, tired, worn down by years of rebuilding. Many expected him to stop. He didn't. Around this time, a new material was entering the world: plastic. Most craftsmen dismissed it as cheap and unreliable. Ole saw potential. In 1947, Lego invested in a plastic injection molding machine. For a struggling company, this was an enormous risk. The early plastic bricks weren't perfect. They didn't lock well. Customers weren't impressed. But Ole believed in refinement, not shortcuts. Lego kept improving the design, slowly, patiently. In 1958, Lego finally perfected the interlocking brick system, a design so precise that even today, modern Lego bricks still connect with those made decades ago. Around this, something very shocking news came. That same year, Ole Kirk Christiansen passed away. He never saw Lego become a global icon. But he left behind something far more powerful than a product, a mindset. And his son, Gottfried Kirk Christiansen, was about to take that mindset and turn Lego into something the world had never imagined. When Ole Kirk Christiansen passed away in 1958, Lego didn't suddenly become a success story overnight. In fact, this was one of the most dangerous moments in the company's history. Because now, Lego wasn't just a small family workshop anymore. It was a growing company that needed clear direction. and that responsibility fell on Ole's son. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, Gottfried made a decision that changed Lego forever. He realized that Lego wasn't just selling toys, it was selling a system. A system where every brick worked with every other brick, where nothing was random, and where creativity had no finish line. This idea became known as the Lego system in play, and it became the soul of the company. Under Gottfried's leadership, Lego expanded rapidly across Europe, then into the United States. The bricks became a global language. A child in Denmark and a child in New York could build together without ever speaking the same words. By the 1970s and 1980s, Lego was everywhere. Sets became more complex. Minifigures were introduced. Entire cities, space stations, and fantasy worlds were being built on bedroom floors. Lego wasn't just a toy anymore. It was part of childhood itself. But success has a quiet side effect. It makes companies confident. And confidence, when unchecked, slowly turns into distraction. By the 1990s, Lego had grown into a massive global brand, and instead of protecting what made it special, the company started experimenting. A little too much. Lego expanded into areas far away from its core identity. Clothing, theme parks, video games, TV shows, even lifestyle products. On paper, it all looked logical. Big brand, big opportunities. In reality, Lego was losing focus. The biggest problem wasn't creativity. It was complexity. Lego introduced thousands of new parts that didn't work well together. Manufacturing costs exploded. Supply chains became messy. Designers were encouraged to innovate without limits, but no one was asking whether customers actually wanted these products. By the late 1990s, something shocking happened. Lego, the company built on precision and discipline, started losing money. Fast. In 1998, Lego reported its first ever loss. By the early 2000s, the situation became critical. Billions were at stake. Factories were inefficient. Inventory was piling up. And worst of all, children were changing. Video games were taking over childhood. Screens were winning attention. Lego felt old, slow, outdated. Inside the company, panic spread. Executives disagreed. Strategies clashed. Some believed Lego should become more digital. Others believed it should abandon complexity and return to basics. For a while, Lego tried to do everything at once, and failed at all of it. Most people don't know about. Lego brought in an outsider. Jørgen Vig Knudstorp, a former consultant who wasn't even a toy person. And that was exactly why he worked. Jørgen did something radical. He asked uncomfortable questions. He cut beloved projects. He shut down departments that weren't profitable, even when they were emotionally important to the brand. Most importantly, he forced Lego to face the truth. Lego didn't need to be everything. Lego needed to be Lego again. The company returned to its core idea, the brick system. Fewer parts, clearer themes, better discipline. They partnered with franchises like Star Wars, not to chase trends, but to give structure to imagination. They listened to fans. They simplified manufacturing. They slowed down. And slowly, Lego came back. By the late 2000s, Lego was profitable again. By the 2010s, it became one of the most admired brands in the world. Not because it chased technology, but because it understood something timeless. Humans don't outgrow play. They just forget it sometimes. Today, Lego isn't just a toy company. It's a reminder. A reminder that imagination doesn't need batteries, that creativity doesn't expire, and that even the strongest brands can lose their way, and still find it again, if they're honest enough to look back at who they truly are. Lego's story was never about plastic bricks. It was about resilience, focus, and the quiet power of building something, one small piece at a time.